This is the tutorial for wild portraits. In this assignment, you will be combining a picture of your own face with the face of an animal, with the end result of a hopefully weirdly realistic combination of human and animal features. This creation will require multiple layers. As you can see here in my layers palette, there are several layers to this creation, beginning with the original photo of my kids. And then here you can see that I have a layer that started out as a picture of a chimpanzee, and I've applied a layer mask to it to hide most of the picture, leaving only some of these chimpanzee features, which, when placed over the layer of the original picture, has the result of blending the human and animal features. And I've done the same here with the tiger and again with the lion. And as you can see in these three faces, there's a varying degree of human versus animal, and it really just depends on what animal you choose and how you are posed in your original photo as to what features you end up blending into each other. What is important as far as completion of the assignment goes is that you have layers, and they should be named. These are not. This is a bad example. These should be named. This one is the chimpanzee layer, so it should be named chimp. This one is the tiger, and this one is the lion. And then my background layer, it's okay to leave it background. It would also be okay to rename it. In this case, I'll call it kids. So you should have correctly named layers showing in your palette. And you'll notice that each one of these has its own layer mask. Now, the important thing to know about layer masks, they are far superior to erasing. We don't ever want to erase parts of a photo. We mask them out instead, because masking can always be edited. Once you have erased or deleted pixels, you can't get those back. So we use a layer mask, which is always editable. So each layer is going to have its own mask, and each layer can also be moved around independently so that you can work with the different parts more effectively. Now, in this case, the facial features actually matched up really well, and so I only have one layer for each of the animal faces, but sometimes it is necessary to have maybe two tigers, and then you would mask out, all but the forehead part on one layer and maybe all but the mouth part on another layer, so that you can move them independently. And again, that is going to just depend on what shape the animal face is and how well it matches up to your face. Okay, so to go through the process, I'm going to use a little bit simpler. This is just one human face and one animal face that I'm going to combine together. So first, you will need to get your human face and your animal face into the same document. And remember, you do that by making a new document. So in Photoshop, you'll just go to File, New, and in this dialog box, go ahead and make it 8 inches by 10 inches, and a 72 resolution is fine because we will not be printing this. Once you've created your new document, then you will have opened your face file and your animal picture file, and you will drag those layers into this new document where they'll be combined. Okay, so you can see here I have a picture of Marissa, and then on the next layer I have a picture of the cheetah. Now, one question that you have to address at this point is which layer do I put on top? And my answer to that is that you should put on top the layer that you want to use the head shape from. So in this case, I'm going to have a picture that looks mostly like Marissa, and the head shape is Marissa's head shape, and then I'm going to give her a few cheetah features. So I'm going to put Marissa on top and the cheetah underneath. All right, so first I need to make sure that I have the major features lined up, and this is where it will become obvious if I need more than one layer. So in order to see both at the same time, I'm going to be on the top active layer, and up here in the layers palette where it says opacity, I'm going to take that way down. Let's see, maybe somewhere around 50%, so that I can actually see both Marissa and the cheetah. And then I would use that to line up the two pictures. Okay, now I know that I'm going to be using Marissa's eyes and not the cheetah's eyes, so I don't care if the cheetah's eyes line up with hers. I'm looking at where these stripes and whiskers and fur fall on her face. So I'm happy with this alignment. So I'm going to go ahead and turn Marissa back up to 100% opacity. Now it's time to apply the layer mask. So I'm on the Marissa layer. I go down here at the bottom of the layers palette and click this button, the little gray rectangle with the white circle, which will add a layer mask to that layer. Okay, now the thing about layer masks that you have to remember, first of all, you always want to make sure you're doing your work on the mask and not on the picture. So if I click here, anything I do is editing the picture itself. But if I click here so that the mask is highlighted, then anything I do will only be on the mask. That's very important. The way we edit a mask is simply by painting with black and white. So I get my regular paintbrush, and I make sure that my colors here are set to black and white. If they're not, I can click this tiny button, which will restore them to the default colors. And then whichever one is on top is going to be the one that I'm painting with. So if I want to paint with black, I need to swap it. There's a tiny little arrow here, and I swap it again if I want to paint with white. Now, the reason the black and white are important is that on a mask, when you paint with black, it's kind of like painting with invisibility paint. If I paint on the mask with black, what it does is it hides the layer that the mask is applied to. So by painting with black, there's no black, but I'm masking out that layer and revealing what's underneath. Okay, so I need to undo all of that. Okay, so if I wanted to hide Marissa's nose and let the cheetah's nose show through, I just mask out hers and the cheetah shows from underneath. What I actually want to do though is turn the opacity of my brush way down to about 30%. And I want my masking to happen gradually. So I know I want her to have some fur up here. And see, this way, because I'm working more gradually, it's blending the cheetah's stripes with Marissa's skin tone so that it looks more natural. Now, sometimes you're going to mask out something that you don't really want to mask out. Like here, I have accidentally masked out too much of her face and the cheetah's eye is showing right here, which I don't want. So what I need to do is edit my mask to unhide, to unmask Marissa. So I switch over to white, and as I paint now with white on the mask, you see it's bringing back the Marissa layer. So with a combination of those and working with a low opacity, I am just going to mask out enough of Marissa to let some of those cheetah features show through. And if I make a mistake and I mask something that I don't like, I can always switch back to white and unmask it so that the Marissa layer comes back. Remember that you can adjust the size of your brush by using the bracket keys on your keyboard. It's always best to use an appropriately sized brush, not too big or too small. And remember, if you hide something that you didn't mean to, you can always switch back to white and bring it back. And I do recommend using a low opacity of around 30% or so, so that your effect will be gradual and blended and will look more realistic. Okay, when you are happy with the blending of the animal face with your human face, then this blended picture is what we call your wild portrait, and that is what you will be turning in.